Hey guys, I'm just going to skip straight over the fact that I look ridiculously good in a suit, and today I want to talk about posture. In particular, I'm going to talk about sitting posture and the types of positions that we can get in at home whilst we're working that are going to take a lot of stress off our lower back and help with our shoulder position as well. Tarquin, you are a funny one. Yes, absolutely, I do agree. I think we need to look professional at all times, even though we're online, even though we're on Zoom calls all day. Really? I think it's absolutely imperative that we look professional at all times. Monday's fine, no problem. I agree. How's my back? Couldn't be better. Okay, firstly I want to talk about some of the equipment that we can use to help us get into these postures. I've got a foam roller here, I've got some yoga blocks, we can also use simple cushions, and then obviously we've got rolled up towels that we can use as well. And I'll go through the postures in a minute. I like to talk about environmental architecture, okay? It's basically a fancy word for having things like this available really close and really easy to grab. Okay, I've even gone with colour-coded greys, so we're very grey people, just to make so that it kind of fits in with the house, so it's not big sort of garish orange things sitting around, which means that we're more likely to keep them in sight, that we can grab and get into these positions. Right, so how can we use these to our advantage? So the point is that if we are sitting on our bums all day, we are compressing our lumbar spine, all right? And that is also going to facilitate our shoulders rolling forward and getting us into a less favourable position up top. So one of the ideas that we can slip into is actually kneeling, getting into positions where our lumbar spine is not taking any pressure directly into it, all right? So we can adopt these positions which are really going to help release that pressure in our lumbar spine. So if you're comfortable actually kneeling and you can get yourself into this position, then great. If not, then we can start using the foam roller and some of the apparatus to help. So in this position here, I've just slotted it behind my ankles, and I really implore you guys to give this a go because it really does help. Pop yourself in here, you'll find that it takes the pressure off your toes and it forms quite a nice comfortable position. The point of all of these really is when you're on the floor, it's very difficult to stay here for long periods of time. So we will naturally or organically, we will move from position to position, which is a good thing. Every 20 minutes or so, we're up, we're moving, we're changing, we're not letting the tightness grip our body and certainly start to create those discrepancies in our back and our shoulders. So quite simply, I can go from this position, I can just sit forwards and I can actually sit on the foam roller, I can cross my legs, I can get into positions like this as well. The foam roller can also go behind my knees if my knees start to hurt a little bit. All right, so we can find ourselves getting into some of these positions as well. If the knees start to hurt on the ground, we start to bring in some cushions. All right, if you don't have a foam roller at home, grab a towel. Again, another grey thing in the house. And pop that behind your knees. That will take some pressure off. Pop it under your ankles. That will take some pressure off there as well. If you've got some yoga blocks at home, these can be really useful as well. If you slot them into each leg, we can actually sit now in a position where there's no pressure going through our lumbar spine at all. All right? It does take a little bit getting used to, and as I said, they do become a little bit uncomfortable after after sort of 10 or 20 minutes, but again, that is ideal because it does force us to change position, grab something else, and get into a different shape, which obviously keeps the body guessing and stops these tightnesses occurring. Once we've got these, the idea is that we can actually manipulate the body however we like. All right, guys, so you can mess around with this, grab the foam roller, we can kneel on it, we can kneel forwards on it like that. As I said, we can have our heels on, we can put the yoga blocks behind and just create lots of different shapes that are keeping that pressure off our lumbar spine. If you do want to sit on the ground and you start to get bored of that or your knees start to hurt, again, start using the foam roller in positions to keep that spine nice and straight so I can get in here. And also the added bonus of being on the ground is whilst we're down here, we can actually do a couple of stretches, loosen off our glutes, keep our hamstrings long. We can kind of just move around a little bit more, we're a bit freer when we're on the ground. So by manipulating our body shape, what I'm talking about is not allowing our hip flexors, for example, to stay in a shortened position. So by kneeling, we can come up into a more extended position here, allowing those hip flexors to lengthen. We can also move around and allow our hamstrings to lengthen as well, rather than being in these seated positions, all right? If we put this foam roller underneath our hamstrings and under our knees, again, that can help facilitate really favourable positions on the lower back and allow that tilt to come into a better position. The other thing, of course, is when we're sitting on the floor and we're using kneeling positions, we do need to engage our lower abs. So we are actually a little bit more active in these positions than if we're slumped in a chair. The other thing, of course, is when you're sitting on a chair, there's a kind of syndrome known as glute amnesia, and it's when we're sitting on our glutes for long periods of time, they basically just stop being used. All right, and again, in these positions, we will find not only are we moving around, but to get up and to get down, our glutes are being used, our lower abs are starting to activate, and we're just generally more active in those positions. If you do find, however, that you need to kind of sit at a table, for whatever reason, again, there's some positions that we can adopt here that are slightly more favourable. Okay, so we can still get on our knees, and obviously we can let our heels just hang off the bottom there. And again, I'm in this position, chatting away with Tarquin about the markets, and it's nice and comfortable on my back, and I can keep nice and upright. If I do slip into this sitting position as well, I can get nice and forwards, tuck my feet underneath me here, and again, it just elongates the hip flexor and it allows me to sit up nice and straight. What we don't want to get into, of course, is just that classic slumping down into here, and that pelvic tilt is obviously going to go the other way, and it's going to start to tighten up the hamstrings, tighten up the hip flexors, and that's what leads to lower back pain, which obviously has a referral effect up the body, or cascading effect up, and we start to hunch over as well. I hope you found some of these sitting positions really useful. As I said, make your own ones up, all right? But use the floor as much as you can, all right? Sofas and chairs, yes, they're comfortable, but they're absolutely devilish for your lower back and your upper shoulders as well. So give them a try, guys, and let me know how you get on.